Thunderbolts is a perfect entry into the MCU, containing both the classic hallmarks of the old MCU and innovation, but it still somehow failed. So, why? Before I get to the why of Thunderbolts underperforming, I need to first break down why it was the perfect MCU entry before discussing the tragedy of its failure, despite its quality. Thunderbolts was the perfect MCU movie because it managed to do something that precious few MCU films before it have managed. It was able to simultaneously return to what made the old MCU great in the first place, while also innovating beyond that. Thunderbolts returns to the foundational hallmarks of the classic MCU through its humor and ensemble cast. Both the humor and cast are charming and character driven, reminding me of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, which are broadly regarded as some of the very best the MCU has ever produced. The ragtag cast of Thunderbolts replicates that personable yet scrappy vibe for this team through exceptionally charismatic characters like Yelena, the Red Guardian, and even, somehow, John Walker. The humor even lands well too, without ever falling into the old MCU trappings of being too quippy or too cheesy.
Hey! You weren't listening to me. It's like your mind is somewhere else.
And Thunderbolts simultaneously manages to innovate while successfully readapting the more classic hallmarks of the MCU. There's very few MCU movies where the theming is as mature and prevalent as in Thunderbolts. Obviously, the theme of mental health struggles resides at the heart of this film. The movie opens with Yelena's monologue about her struggle finding meaning, and eventually closes with Bob, the pseudo-antagonist who basically becomes depression personified. And the heroes in this movie don't prevail by punching and kicking Bob, although they certainly try. They prevail by sticking with Bob and helping him through his dangerous mental health episode. And thus, Thunderbolts says something more poignant and mature through its themes than any MCU movie before it, and quite possibly any MCU movie after it. So, Thunderbolts is the perfect MCU movie, through its almost paradoxical commitment to returning to what made the MCU great in the first place, and innovating beyond that. But that alone wasn't enough to save Thunderbolts from its tragic fate. Thunderbolts was fantastic critically, but its box office performance didn't reflect that reality. And there are a few reasons for that. Firstly, Thunderbolts is among a depressingly small number of good post-Endgame MCU movies, and both fans and general audiences alike know this. People were way less likely to spend their hard-earned cash on an MCU movie with skeptical quality, especially an MCU movie featuring little-known characters like Yelena Belova, John Walker, and this girl, all of whom required basically the equivalent of Disney Plus nerd homework to know who these characters even were in the first place. Add that fact to a subpar marketing campaign and the worse than subpar Captain America film that released only a few months prior, and you have a recipe for financial failure. Not to say that Thunderbolts' disappointing monetary performance takes away from its critical acclaim, because it doesn't, but it's still a travesty that Marvel is monetarily decentivized from making another film quite like Thunderbolts. Because in a lot of ways, it was exactly what the MCU needed, even if it does have the unfortunate legacy of being a perfect failure. Anyway, I'm a YouTuber, you probably know what I want. Do the like, comment, subscribe things if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!